It is Monday night, August 18, 2025. This is this week's edition of Stick to Wrestling. And as you can see, I have a great guest. I have Raven and I have Geordie. I knew I was going to do that because I practice it. And I practiced it. I bragged to you before we hit start that I was going to get it wrong. Geordie Day. They are the creators of the Raven documentary, Nevermore, The Raven Effect, which is coming to Lexington, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston on Saturday, August 23rd, 8 p.m. Tickets are available at Lexington Venue, LEXINGTOVENUE.com. And Raven will also be making an appearance at Kowloon on Sunday, August 24th at 1 p.m. as part of Matt Cardona's Big Ass Extreme Bash. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good. You left out an N on the Lexington Venue.
I did. LEXING.
Lexington Venue.
LEXINGTONVENUE.com. There we go. We got it right. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll start with you, Geordie. Why did you want to do this project on Raven?
Well, I heard Raven on a podcast. It was actually on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, and he was talking about wrestling. And like so many other people, he's so captivating when he's talking about wrestling. He's an artist, and he doesn't view wrestling. To him, wrestling is high art, and it was for him. Like his character was three-dimensional, sort of like a Daniel Day-Lewis, like how he would be. Like get into the character and start to believe that he was the character. Raven did that with his wrestling character, and that felt unique to me. And it felt his whole perspective on wrestling was unique, and he was a phenomenal storyteller. And I was like, wow, like this would be an incredible documentary.
So my first ECW show that I ever watched was on Channel 27 locally in Boston, and it was Ultimate Jeopardy, the night that Stevie Richards lost Raven's world title in a four-way match where everybody had a different stipulation if they lost. And what I go to is, for me, Raven, you were the first really deep layered character that I had really laid my eyes on as far as a young wrestling fan, because I was still watching the WWE stuff, the WWF stuff, where it was occupational characters more than anything else. Do you take a sense of pride thinking that you were one of the early deep layered and even dark characters in pro wrestling?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's what I set out to do. So I'm quite proud of it.
And Geordie, what did you learn about Raven that maybe you didn't know before in putting together this documentary?
I mean, there's so much, it's like hard to know where to begin to answer that. The behind the scenes stuff in terms of like the partying and the drug use, which we really dive pretty deep into within the documentary, is very wild. When we talked to Billy Corgan, he phrased it really well. He was like, like I've been behind the scenes and in every locker room from every major promotion, and each CW was just a different animal. It just was wilder, the drinking, the drug use, all of that.
Yeah, if you had a drug test, you got fired.
Yeah. And so some of those stories are just, so wild, it's like almost hard to believe. And and I think that's kind of what sticks out, but there's a lot kind of going through my mind, but I think that was something that I really didn't quite realize was that truly that crazy behind the scenes. And also, like, I will say, one thing I was really surprised about was every wrestler that I met was super nice and helpful and just so willing to help. And I didn't necessarily expect that, because I grew up with it, and a lot of these guys were heels, and so I was scared of a lot. Like, maybe psychologically in the back of my head, I was kind of like intimidated by some of these guys because I'd seen them from that light. And everybody was just so awesome to work with.
Raven, when you went back and you watched this documentary, was there something that you saw and you're like, oh, I kind of wish I hadn't done that, or oh, I kind of wish I had done that? Do you have like a retrospective on how you felt after watching the documentary?
What I felt was it was tough watching watching it back, because I told Geordie, I said, if we're gonna do this, I want to do it, warts and all. I want to do it with, all my highlights, but I also want to do it with all my lowlights, all my baggage, all the diverse stuff that makes up me, the complexity, including the negativity and the toxicity. And so, looking back, it's painful because it's 2 hours. Like Jericho says at one point in the movie, Raven's a guy you either love or you hate, and it's true. And I know that, and I'm fine with it. But still, when you hear 2 hours of material like that, it's tough to watch. You know what I mean?
Raven, did you want your fellow coworkers to hate you, or did you want them to love you?
I wanted the people, my coworkers, to like me and respect me. But I didn't went out of my. I think I was very self-destructive without realizing I was self-destructive, and so I think I went out of my way to alienate people, to push the boundaries of everything. It's all part of my nature.
Have you had a chance, if you even wanted to reconnect with those people and either make amends or be like, "Yep, I was a bad person, I'm sorry," or anything of that nature?
No, I'm friendly with everybody now. You know what I mean? Like, there's no hard feelings or anything, but it's it is what it is. It was a time period, and like the worst, it's like you're having a bad day. It's like, you know what it is? It's like when fans will come up to you and they might catch you on a day where you just got bad news, like say a relative died or something, and you're a dick to them. You don't mean to be, but you're like, you can't be bothered because you got more important stuff, and they don't get that. You know what I mean? They only saw you that one time for that one moment, and so to them, you're always going to be a dick. I may have been a dick more than my circumstances allowed for, and it is what it is, though. I mean, I feel bad for the people I've hurt, but I think I've made amends and apologized to anybody that I've hurt bad enough. You know what I mean?
I have actually a positive story about you and Ring of Honor that I'll get to in a second. But I want to ask, like, when you guys put together this project, did you think it would come out a certain way? And was it anywhere close to what you maybe had expected?
You want to go first? Or you want me to?
Why don't you go first? Because I'm curious. Yeah, curious what you think.
I think it came out really, really well. I mean, I'm really impressed with the work. If it wasn't painful to watch, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. And not because I like pain, because I don't. I refuse to watch movies about, like, Schindler's List. I have no interest in seeing that. I mean, granted, it's hopeful because he rescues people, but all the people that died is so tragic. I don't want to see that. But in this case, I wanted to see something that had some elements of tragedy because my life has that. And so I think he did a phenomenal job. And I say that on the interviews I do without him.
Man, that's nice. Yeah, I knew that the interviews with Raven would go really well. Like, I've heard interviews with him. We had talked ahead of time, and he said that he really wanted to be very emotionally truthful. And what sets him apart from a lot of other wrestlers is, like, he draws from real life pain, in a very, like, extreme sense. And so, like, because he wants the character to feel real. And so, like, I knew that at the heart of the documentary that would all be there. The only thing that, like, I think I found surprising was, there was sort of this, like, maybe former reputation, or based on, like, his own words, that he could be difficult sometimes, and that just, like, wasn't my experience. It was actually just a joy to make the documentary, and he was phenomenal to work with, and just, yeah, great guy throughout. So that was probably the most surprising thing, to be honest. I've worked with a lot more difficult people.
And this is Raven, I'll start with you on this kind of follow-up. Is there something that you want the viewer of this documentary to come away with?
I like them to come away with the idea that if you have baggage and issues, deal with them, get some help, see a therapist, and don't be afraid to deal with them, verbally, don't just hide away and hide your baggage, discuss it with somebody, and don't be afraid to go public with it and get help, because it sucks suffering,
Geordie, same question for you.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's a good point. I hope that wrestling fans just have a good time. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a really interesting look
don't
at wrestling.
a really fun movie. I'm just
Yeah.
I feel the negative parts stand out because there's so many of them. Not in the 2 hour window. It's there's a lot of them. You know what I mean? More than you would have in a 2 hour conference.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
it's a happy movie. You know what I mean?
We as human beings, I think more critically and negatively than anything else. So I always think that there are enough high level people in the world that are super critical of themselves because they always want to be better the next time around. That's just a personal kind of belief and wonder of mine. I do want to bring up Raven. I met you years ago at a Ring of Honor show. What's that?
Sure, I remember.
It was in Cambridge, Massachusetts. You had started a program with CM Punk, and you were doing meet and greets and Polaroids. And I have the Polaroid somewhere. But I gave you the money. You gave me a great photo, and I had a great experience with you. So I appreciate you for that. Go ahead.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
I did want to know, you were working a program with CM Punk at that time, and that was CM Punk when he was younger. What were your impressions of him then? And I don't know if you have seen his ascent through the WWE and AEW and back to WWE, but any perceptions of him now where he's now a top guy in that company?
He thought he was the greatest worker in the world at the time, and he wasn't. But at some point he became it, so kudos to him. I think the kid, is so talented. I don't watch it anymore. I stopped watching it, but so I haven't kept up. But you hear things from other people and stuff, and and apparently his work is as good as ever. And also I'll give him a lot of credit for this. Well, he was, he's straight edge and all that, and I wasn't getting any heat on him because because Gabe wanted me to lose every match to him. So I think it deflated the program in a lot of ways because I should have been beating him in the beginning and then let him beat me in the end. You know what I mean? But but that was what Gabe wanted. But then Punk let me. I don't know whose idea it was. Maybe it was mine. Maybe it was Dreamers. Maybe it was Punk's. But maybe it was Punk's. I don't know. Somebody suggested that we pour beer down, tie a hand into the ropes and pour beer down his throat. And being straight edge, that's anathema to him. But he was totally cool with it, and I think it made the program stand out even more.
I think one of the things, like from watching the early days of Ring of Honor, for me, it was this story makes sense. You have the straight edge wrestler against the hardcore drug using wrestler, and that's just the term that I'm using. That's like how I felt about it. And you're going through these different matches. It's like one's a one-on-one match, then it's a dog collar match, and there's this orange Clockwork of Fun match, which was in Wakefield, Massachusetts, in a gym. I was there for it. And
Orange House of Fun match.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And how did that kind of come to be? That's that type of match.
Well, I created the Clockwork Orange House of Fun match in TNA. And they wanted me to come up with a different kind of match other than a cage match or whatever, or a lumberjack match. So I came up with that, and I think it's the clever name that works more than anything. I think that's why, because I think if you ask people to describe it, they'd forget because all it was we put a one of the sides of the cage on 2 sides of the ring, so it's a half a cage, and then we put a bunch of weapons all strung up around the. Or maybe it's only one side of the cage I don't even remember. One side of the cage is where the cage, door, not door, but the part of the cage, and then you have weapons tied to the post. You had posts in each, sticking in each turnbuckle, and then you had a rope tied around it, and you hung weapons from it. So all the weapons are right there where you need them. And so it's really not much different, other than the weapons are more, that's why I used to bring a shopping cart to the ring, because the weapons are more accessible instead of having to go under the ring and look for them. That to me has always seemed like, and how are you going to have any cool weapons hidden under there? Why would you have a, like the Frankenstein doll in the ficus plant sitting, that sat in the shopping cart. But, yeah, so that was that. It just had a different sound to it, and a different enough look, and a unique enough title that it got over.
Nevermore, The Raven Effect screens the documentary with Raven. It screens this Saturday night in Lexington. It's lexingtonvenue.com. You can find out all the information on Raven's social media, which is at Raven Effect on Twitter and at Geordie Day.
But they say Friday or Saturday?
I thought I said Saturday. Did I not say Saturday? Did I say Friday?
Friday.
This is so I interviewed Paul Heyman years ago, and he nitpicked me the entire time, and I'm fine with it. I think it's funny. I think it's great. And if I'm screwing it up, I don't mean to. I'm just trying to get everything in and get it in. And
no, I know you are. No, I corrected you. If I didn't, you were good at this, I wouldn't bother wasting your time.
I'm not good at it. I'm just a fan who happens to work for the media and have been for 25 years. So.
Oh, you do a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, I was like, just pulling teeth.
Geordie, were you a fan of ECW going through your life and Ring of Honor, and just a fan of Raven, or a fan of wrestling in general?
Yeah, a fan of wrestling in general, and I think a fan of that turn. I think characters like Raven and ECW created a tone and a style of wrestling that ultimately inspired the Attitude Era. And I grew up on ECW and the Attitude Era, and this kind of wrestling that I truly feel that Raven was a huge part of inventing. And so I just have a ton of respect for him. And then kind of growing up and then hearing interviews and appreciating how much thought went into that. And, it really didn't happen by accident. He's an artist, and he takes his craft really seriously. And that's why he was so good at it.
I 100% agree with that. And I saw Raven, I saw your conversation with Todd Gordon, Derek Sabato, and you mentioned how Double Dog Collars was one of your favorite matches because that match tied a number of stories all into one match. And I think that match really amplifies what ECW was. It was a level of organized chaos, and a match like that is unpredictable in nature, and that's what made ECW an underground, a cult following that eventually leveled up to a certain point. Do you think that organized chaos was part of the fun of ECW, and just your thoughts in putting together that Double Dog Collar match from Gangsta's Paradise '95? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so. I guess I kind of likened us to REM before they had Losing My Religion. We started out as a cult, as a small thing. We grew into like REM did, and then except they hit Losing My Religion, and then they went to mega stardom, and we instead were sold to WWE.
And so I just have this random last question here before we let you guys go, and I appreciate the time. You want to go to lexingtonvenue.com. You can check out Raven on Twitter X. That's the Raven Effect, and Geordie Day is at Geordie Day on Twitter. Could you rank the members of Raven's Nest / the Flock?
Can I rank them?
Yeah, like who would be number 1, 2, and 3, maybe?
Lodi, because Lodi and I stayed best friends, you know. So Stevie Richards, we have not stayed close, but we never were close though. But Stevie was very what's the word I'm looking for? He was necessary for the Ravens' success, you know, for the first couple of years of it. Who else?
Meanie, Nova.
Yeah, Blue Meanie for sure.
Harry Saturn, Kidman.
Saturn, because he's my boy too. I mean, we were best friends still too. But so that's why I'm biased with him and Lodi. But Stevie was the most important part of the chain, you know, and if for as long as he was until he turned on me, you know what I mean?
I know Stevie does a podcast now, and in my research for having this conversation, like I noticed that he did credit you for a lot of how he thinks about wrestling and how he sees wrestling. So I don't know if that so he is on the record publicly as saying very nice things about you.
He's also publicly on the record as saying that I was brain damaged beyond help. You know?
I missed that one.
Which
I missed that one. I'm sorry, I missed that one.
I had about 10 people call me about that and said, how's your health? And I'm like, it's fine, you know.
Oh boy.
On me. So I don't know why he said that unless it was a joke or something, maybe, I don't know. But nevertheless, I'm going to just let, you know, whatever he said, he must have either meant it for some reason that no one will know, and I'll give him a pass, or he didn't mean it. It was a joke, and then I'll still give it a pass, you know, because, you know, I put him through hell, you know, in the early years, and but he was so talented. I always said that. I always said no matter what anybody said, I'd always stand up for Stevie, because he was so talented at being the clueless putz that people really thought he was the clueless putz, you know, and he wasn't, but you know. But for years in ECW, the fans were just they were so bought into his act, you know, and that's him, that's his work, and he should be really proud of it.
You want to go Saturday night, August 23rd, this Saturday night, 8 p.m. It's Raven in his documentary, Nevermore, The Raven Effect. You can get tickets at lexingtonvenue.com. Raven will also be at Kowloon on Sunday at 1 o'clock as part of Matt Cardona's Big Ass Extreme Bash with Tommy Dreamer and Sandman, and I'm sure it's Cardona, so he's got surprises. Go ahead.
Bash because it's Tommy Dreamer's big ass.
Do you have a good Tommy Dreamer that you can share on the air?
Tommy Dreamer's a big fat ass. I'll tell you the same story I told Todd Gordon, except I have to modify it. He one time he went to a sushi restaurant, and I told Todd that he ate $115 worth of sushi. No, he ate 115 pieces of sushi, I think, is the story, which is more sushi than you would get for $115. And then and because of it, he got iodine poisoning.
Oof.
That's because he's a fat ass.
It's actually a rare appearance for Tommy Dreamer. I go to some of these WrestleCons. I actually saw Saturn when I was in Vegas. But I've never seen Tommy Dreamer do a meet and greet. So that's a different event. And
this one they offered him meat, M-E-A-T, instead of M-E-E-T.
There's a lot of good red meat at Kowloon, I'll tell you, Raven. But Geordie Day and Raven, thank you so much. I hope you guys sell out Saturday night. I hope you guys sell out Sunday. And I hope there's continued success going forward.
If we don't, we're blaming you.
I 100% agree, and you can Venmo me a request for money for all of the money that you lost because you talked to me. How's that?
That's perfect.
All right, great. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
You're a great host.
Thank you.